last night. This week is a little bit of a tomorrow night is
You want to give a
no. Yeah.
Everybody's tired.
Yeah, we're not gonna do tomorrow night. Wednesday night will be Rabbi Lerner. I have a bar mitzvah.
He has a mitzvah.
I have my brother's has a son.
So he will do.
So yeah. So I figured tonight let's just do Amen. Oh wow, David. Okay. We spoke yesterday about the din of also l'shamash metosa b'shnei oven. That the Shulchan Aruch says that in the time of famine, a person is not allowed to be with his wife. So we spoke about this. There's some poskim that say also in time of bad inflation, if things are cost double the price, a loaf of bread costed $2 and now it's $4. So that would be also l'shamash mitose.
So what the Shvatim did?
And that's what we spoke yesterday. We learned it from Yosef, but Yosef was not mishamish, and the question was why Levi was mishamish mitose and had a baby ben achoimus, and why Yitzchak Avinu was mishamish when there was a oven, and Avimelech was vayashkev Avimelech ba'alech alone, and he saw that Yitzchak is metzachik esrif kiisht. Okay. The Nakuda we spoke about yesterday, the Rebbe's answer was a brilliant answer. It was also very simple. The Rebbe said
the Roy in Mitzrayim when Yitzchak were there. So maybe it's only in the area, like in a war zone, you shouldn't, but in an area of the world that there's no war.
And the area where Yitzchak was, there was a Rav.
But when he was in Mitzrayim,
it wasn't in
Mitzrayim.
That wasn't in Mitzrayim. That was where Avimelech was.
Okay, so
and Ashi says, "Vayizar Yitzchak b'shonahi yim tzemei shorim." And Ashi says it was Shnas Ra'oven.
So there was a Royev in where the Plishtim were?
Yeah.
No, in Glom. I thought they purposely went there because of the Royev, they wanted to get food.
I guess.
So if there was no Royev, then they could be
you're asking a good question, but the Rashi says that there was a Shnas Ra'oven.
Yeah, I understand but in elsewhere. All right.
No, there. That's what Rashi says.
Would they go there?
Could be before they went there, that the other place was
worse off than the other place.
Right.
But with Yitzchak, he was rich.
Yeah.
It's okay.
He was rich.
Yeah. There was no.
It was a Rav. Rashi says over there was a Rav, and by Levi also. Levi had a baby when they came Ben Achoimus, and they came Ben Achoimus about 2 years into the time of Rav. Okay. Anyway, we spoke yesterday about this. The Rebbe said that there is the Lashon of Shulchan Aruch is there also mitzvah l'haravatzman b'shnas Ra'oven also l'shamash b'mitose in the year of Ra'oven. Why? Because the Gemara is holding like it's mashma from the Shulchan Aruch, the Beis Yosef that I'm all holding like it's mashma from the Gemara, because it has to be mitzvah with the tzibur, and that's why Taka the Sif from Shulchan Aruch starts with mitzvah l'harivatzman b'shnas Ra'oven, because he has to feel the tzar of the tzibur. But Apip Pshat, the Rebbe said, it's a different thing. Apip Pshat, it's a different thing. It's because the Eibush is busy in the opposite of Yeshuvah Shaloylam. So therefore, he can't be busy with Yeshuvah Shaloylam. So therefore, if you say, like Rashi, so if it's a fluke, it's a fluke. So how should he know that the Eibush is busy with the opposite of Yeshuvah Shaloylam? It's a fluke, whatever. Happened for 1 year. Therefore, Rashi is medayik that not like the Lashon HaPosuk, Shnas Ra'ov, Shnei Ra'oven. If he sees 2 years went through and there's Ra'oven, this is the chasimin that the Eibush is busy and the opposite of Yeshuvah Shaloylam. Therefore, or because the Eibush is busy in the opposite of Yeshuva Shalom, he shouldn't be busy with Yeshuva Shalom. That wasn't good that we learned yesterday. And but Yosef Atzadik, who knew the dream, as Shalakim Oysa had his paroi, so he stopped having children, because he knew what's happening. Levi didn't know, and Yitzchak didn't know. What was B'Shonahi? But maybe it's a fluke, and Levi also, maybe it's a fluke.
What about the woman has to go to the mikveh?
We said if it's that day,
It's not Ravon. The famine.
right, that day.
Yeah,
We said yesterday.
I wasn't here. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's read inside. Shulchan Aruch Siman Tov Ayin Dalet Sif Hey. Mitzvah lahar v'odam atzam b'shnas rabim v'asel shamash v'netasa chutz m'leil tvila l'chasuch ribonim. The exception is leil tvila, and the exception is chasuch ribonim.
In other words, the last day she's going to make, and that's it. But the rest of the month is not together. Not
No, but I said Chasuche Bonim also.
Chasuch ribonim are mutter.
Like the mikveh also different nights.
Right.
But Shank
Right.
and somebody.
Oh, okay.
Earlier Rebbe writes. Okay, yesterday we went through already the Magavam and the Taz. I'm just doing another two Meforshim we didn't do yesterday. Pidish Taz daf kishachosoch legamri shoel lecharidi avnishalakim piri v'riba also. Dafka, if he has no children, which is a big tsar, but if he has sons, but he doesn't have a daughter, or the other way around, it's awesome. The tema of should be had Pirish Rashi daf Yud Aleph Shem Lechi Piri V'Riba Muta. B'Zel Lo Shem Tzei V'Tzei La Derech Maimer Heos L'Sham Nitosem Came Mitzvahs Piri V'Riba. Atkan L'Shonis we see in the Sefer Tzei La Derech he says there's allowed more the Loiki Muta Av Sheyesh Loi Shnei Bonim Im Lebas V'Chem B'Avor Berambam Piri B'Chavtayin V'Chem Ash Beran. So he has a shayla on the task. I'm sorry so Divrei Atzma Yishakosa B'Sefer Divrei David Parshas Miketz. Zelashoyna ha yisur tashmish lav lagamri or tashmish hu latainik biyalma also. But the isur is only if it's for pleasure alone. Avalakim hamin if he needs to have children. Oy the yitzrei take for love. The yitzar is getting very strong. Yes, chshash. Ashchos azera. The yitzar is getting very strong, and there's a chshash that there's going to be a waste of zera. Ein Yisur. The milts of the psikhe knock at that kind of shina. That when we say it doesn't mean any valid reason. So he says chastin in the Taz. Here the Taz says that only if he has 0 children, and the Piddush on the Toida, he writes that he's allowed to be with his wife for any good reason, even if it's talking for love. Okay. Chacham Shlomo writes like this: Nishalti mekihila kadisha harim malov.
What is the name basic?
Echte betzida, I don't know. Loma einon noigum leser atash mish mishnei re'oven. Because of Ashol, Lefshan of Sechem, Ashkos of Primogodom Shemel Yerabe. That maybe we're relying that I guess a city, I don't know.
Oh, city.
Vishafti the Zel the Eine, the Gazin af Nish Eine Bar Hochi, Lachav Lashemitza Nam Eine Porish, Daiti Himaveris Odom Dosh Bakever. Given the comments, Dodim Yeshemuter could go on Balel Tvilach, so Chebonim. Given the Yeshdorachim, Given Mukachuter Lagamri. Says because, there's so many loopholes here. There's the Leil Tvila, there's Chebonim, so that's why people.
said this Isser is not
Not 100%.
is not
Right.
practiced.
That's what it seems like. It wasn't practiced so much. As I mentioned,
We've had Ochabos,
in similar narration, right? And we have now. What do you mean? We had.
Now we have inflation.
That's what I'm talking about. The Shari Tshuva brings in Simmeration and Orachaim, the basic stuff go double the price. It's also l'sham shmitose.
And nobody said not allowed to do this.
Now the price of eggs about 6 months ago, on average, was $1.99.
No, $6.
Price of dozen eggs now today, on average, is $6. So it's 3 times the price for a dozen eggs. And also bread and flour and all kinds of basic food stuff went up in price. You know that?
Yeah.
Okay. V'hinei, Amash Shol, Ramay Losai, Kama Nachshav Rav, and they need a leader that Tag Bedim, Beizoi for Mutter, lots of Metzal Chutzlar. It's not double the price, he says. Gam Kim, they only have a mitzvah, Shiv said, Tzal Mitzvah, Kachalan, Damadaf Kemen, and Moitzel Likach Klal, as Mutter, lots of Swindin, Tzarech Lifre Shirag, Ben Moitzel Likach Klal. He says, no, not if it goes double the price. And he says, no, if it's in Moitzel Likach Klal, only if he Pasha can't find, if he can't find, he can't buy. So there is a machloikas at which point you're allowed to go out from Eretz Yisrael. Yid is not allowed to go out to Eretz Yisrael unless the situation is very bad. This is maybe the same shear would apply here. My father,
Alav Shalom, will not leave Yerushalayim even to bar mitzvah, a wedding, nephew, will not leave Yerushalayim. And he came to Israel in 1951. He made a neder, I'm not leaving Yerushalayim.
Wow.
He died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, Kutz Hatoisis, Lama Levi Shemish Mitase, Yesh Lama. Yosef Shir Lefi Atav Aloy Hoyat for Maspel Choloilam, Frat Lashevish Ne'arav, that Yosef had in his mind, he didn't know if there's going to be enough food b'chal. Rak, the Vemes Nishlach Bracha b'Yodam. Avol Yosef b'tzit Kosei leBotach Shirslach Bracha b'Yodam. Ken Loy Hoy Klal Tvua b'Olam. So he didn't know, right? Kach Pirish. Avol Yaakov von Avro ki Yeshev Mitzrayim v'Savri. The Hoy Yesham Tvua Maspekes l'Chololim Kuli. V'derech Hatav Agav Dahav b'Yoike. Kach Shem Shleivi Mitosa. It's a funny thing. He turns on his head. He says Yosef didn't know if there's going to be food, but Levi assumed that.
The one who interpreted the falafel.
Yeah, what's a shopper? You do it. It's funny. V'yesh Leimer. After Yosef Yoda, huh?
Before we said, don't forget.
Yeah, to forget exactly. V'yesh Leimer after Yosef Yoda the Hoyodai Mechal Malkim Avderechnes. They call a Kfu Nirke Prakshel Nisha. But also, Hannes Mais and this Raglachil, given that the Koch Nefesh Lord of Meis as a call is to return, Shkul Nit Koch Nefesh. So you're not supposed to use Mais and Nisim, but you're not supposed to die over that. You have to eat. Al Tashmish, the Eine Mais and Nisim, Eine Koch Nefesh. It's not Pekuach Nefesh. He shouldn't sleep with his wife. What's the big deal? Mishamishin and Mais and Nisim. Kach Pirish Yeshim Mitashmer. Yaakov lo Yodim Mais and Nisim. Kachim Shumatosim. Given the Motzah Liknos a Shap of a day. Both are funny terutzim, but this is the style of the Chacham Shloimeh.
I never heard it.
Right. Amash goes Mishachanor the Mitzvah Laharvot May also the Shamish. I'm Magan Avram Mishachanor the Beis Yosef because the Lokheim Lan Kerbiach and Nishim Saver Sal Kilosa. Okay, we learned this yesterday. Okay, well, let's stop at this. Okay. Just to add a few touches to the picture that we did yesterday. Okay. Now I'd like to learn a nice piece of Zoyar and a piece from the Rebbe on it from his father. So a lot when you read Zoyar, it's a Medrash Chazal. And sometimes in all Midrashim is that way, but frat in the Zoyar sometimes it seems super repetitive. And it's like the story. It says, and just like any Mishnah, you would have to ask a shaila if it seems repetitive. No, why? You know what's the chiddush? Minyan olamali. Even when the Mishnah says isha niknas b'shloisha drachim, when it says minyan olamali, I can count myself. Kol shkein, when the Mishnah repeats itself, so the shaila is, my hi. Why are you repeating yourself? The Zohar here seems to say 3 times. The Isur of Tashmish B'Shnei Oven 3 times. Mamish is you see Yosef Diu Rosa the Bris Sosim Abu B'Shnas Arav. That Yosef that's Chalap Kabbalah the Zohar says that Yosef is the idea of Yesod. Yesod is connected to Ois Bris Kodesh, and that's why Yosef stood out in his Nisayan. The Eibush gave him the Nisayan in the Indian of the Bris Kodesh. So the Zohar says Yosef Iu Rosa the Bris. The idea of Yosef is the secret of the Bris Kodesh. Sasam Abua, he locked up his Neviah, the flow of the Zera, he locked it. B'Shnas Arav. V'lo Yoav lei duchte La asoga ba'alma, he didn't leave any room that it should come out in this world, any of his zera. V'do boile lebarnash, and this is important for a human being, for barnash, the kacholta shnas arov, the yistem mabua, the bris kadisha, that he should lock up the mabua. The mabua means the flow of the bris kodesh.
How you can do that?
It's a good question. It's a good question. It's a good question.
You have to be a genius.
It's a good question, and we'll talk about the nigla and the
Sure.
nisted in a minute.
Sure.
Yeah.
בצבא אומרים לחם קשה.
וגם כן, יוסף צדיק הרוז the bris solik besosam mabua b'shnas arov the loy l'sarve ba'ado klal. And Yosef Tzadik, again, it's mamash a repeat, is the secret of the bris. Solik, he picked himself up. Here the Zohar adds a word. He picked himself up. He was nostalgic, and he locked up his mabua that it shouldn't be nasarev into the place of Rav. Whatever ksiv, well, Yosef Yulut Shnei Barim B'Terev Shav Shnas Rav. Tom, who's in the Sholta Shnas Rav? Is the Mabui V'Solok Mekoyre. He locked up his flow, and he was mistalik. For the Lola have a bonim was sitting mesava, not to give children to the side that's the opposite of kedusha, that's tummy. The Lola chlifa duchta the kedusha beduchta the mesava, not to be chayil of the place, that not to give anything from the side of kedusha into the side of klip. So, the main question is that the Zohar said the same thing 3 times, mamish. And there's a little bit different lashonis in each one of the 3 times, so there's 3 shilas.
Same place.
It's the same thing, yeah. The dots is because Omar Abba, whatever, so they're not, but mamish a repeat in one hemshech. So, what's going on? Okay. So the Rebbe's father writes like this: Yesh gimel bechinas. As explained many times, that the reason why we only have from the Rebbe's father on Zohar, because that's the only sefer he had, that Chumash, B'mokim Galusa. He wrote Tilei Tilim Shel Halochas and Chidushim, that we don't have it because they were buried. Whatever the Nazis came in, they don't know where it is. Yeah. But this was Teros Hashem Dli Ba'af. He had one Zohar, and he had it.
Bahav, you know, Bahav.
No, but the other one, the Zohar he actually had. B'Soif Yomov, they brought him a Zohar. Right, he's on the side. So that's why we have only on the
What are you
Zohar.
talking about? Remember?
The Rebbe's father. So he wrote like this. He was and this is what he had. If he had a Mishnais, he would have written Chidush Mishnais. He was desperate to write. He wanted a person that's like that. He wanted to write. Yeah. So he had a Zohar, so he wrote on the Zohar.
Rabbi, if his wife become pregnant before Shnot Ra'av,
Let's read. Good question. Yesh Gimel Bechinas. There's 3 levels, he said. The Zohar is not repetitive at all. Aleph Shaloi L'Shamish Metose B'Shnas Arov. Kishi'ish Te'enem Uberes. Shezeh Tipa Zaris Lahiloda. Shaloi Yevolod Vlad Ma Tipa Sheb'Shnas Arov Shenikru Bonim Zorim.
wow.
That these children that are born B'Shnas Arov is called Bonim Zorim. That they have because the world is showed a big tumor in the world in the Shnas Arov. Pashtus. Why is the Eibushter making it off? Chas v'shalom to say the Eibushter has an or. It's a teva tov lahit elamai. Whatever it is, there's a problem in the world. The opposite of kedusha. Kedusha is always ois v'chedva b'mkoimah. If there is a famine in the world, it's the opposite of kedusha. So you don't want to have. The Zohar says that the person doesn't want to have children in that time. Number 1. Number 2. Shaloi l'shamish metasa b'shnas arav afilu shimu beres. So it's not a problem. The first thing is the child that's going to be born is going to be kilo born in a time and affected through klipa. But here, there's no baby involved. Number 1, the answer is it's still also. Why? The Gemara says that it helps that in the Teisha Yarche Leida, it helps when he's with his wife, that it helps, it's good for the baby. So the mahus of the child is kosher. But still, the Gemara says that when the husband is with his wife, it makes the baby more zorizim olubin, and it's gonna be mesita the masaba, so it's not good.
There's one in Sanhedrin by Batsheva told Shlomo that David Melech, after she got pregnant, usually was separated from the wife, but she was made sure to go so that he's strong, and so she would have kindness on him for something, another detail there.
Maybe one is an edit.
Yeah.
Very nice. Shkoyach.
So you learn Tanakh. Very good.
I don't know.
He learned the Gemara.
No, but I took it from the Tanakh.
Yeah. Oh, the Yosem is Humash Mishamish Mitose Koidem Shnasarav. Im Yudu Alo Shiach Kach Shnasarav.
Like by Yosef.
By Yosef. B'chdei shegam Lodas Avlad Yeh Koidem Shnasarav Shleivolad Avlad Shnasarav. Okay, 3 nekudas. Then he says, "V'zel ma shemetchila ama sheYosef iu roza the bri yisosam mabul b'shnasarav v'abchina alef shloshim shmetasa b'shnasarav tipa zaris levlad mamish ta'ayna shetisabem atipa hi v'dov v'zel ochiyu v'akol adam yisra." The first thing is achiva every yid. Every yid is learned from Yosef at Tzaddik that if chas v'shalom there's a time or place where there's a rav that he shouldn't make his wife pregnant. Why? Because that tipa is being conceived in a time of klipa. So that child will have a shaykhis to klipa. Okay, b'achachamar. V'gamkin Yosef tzaddik roza the bris solik v'sosam abu hoysev kan teve tzaddika noisev al shuhu roza the bris hoysev teve solik. Over here in the second time he adds the Yosef tzaddika and a solik. Abchina beis shaloi shimesh afilu shaloi lisaber v'zeh odolo lisarve b'ado klal afilu loi l'tipa zaris. You can't say every person is machuyah. If his wife is already pregnant, or she's not shaykh to become pregnant, and he's only doing it not for having zera for children. So for a regular person, it would be mutter. Alamai, if someone wants to be solik, nostalgic. Solik is always in the zohar lashon higher, to go up higher. Okay, so then a third thing. It says Yosef Yosef Nasarav Abchina Gimal Mala Yosef Gedol Vuki Yosef Yoda Emasish Nasarav Malvada Shloshim Shmetasa Klal Nasarav Oitzois Mashishimish Kodim Nasarav Shimish Manav Kodim Nasarav Bechdesh Kamal is one of Tia Kodim Nasarav the Solik Mekoidoi. That's the extra word the Solik Mekoidoi Shil Silik Hashimush Lazman Rav Mekoidem Nasarav Bechdesh Kamal Lidosam you Kodim Nasarav. וזהו דלוי למאה ובנין לסתר מסבה, והוא מה שלא ישימש בשנס הרע, ולא להחליף הדוכתא דקדושה בדוכתא דמתסבה. That the extra lotion in the Zohar, לא להחליף הדוכתא דקדושה בדוכתא דמתסבה, הוא גם שהילודה לא תהיה בשנס הרע, שהילודים הם הטיפס שקוידם שנס הרע לגמרי, אך אם הילודוסם תהיה בשנס הרע, ואני נולדה בדוכתא מסבה הקופונים. So even though the conception of this tipa is not from klipa, but for they were born beduchta the klipa in a time and place of klipa, and he didn't want that his children should be born in a time and place of klipa.
So probably he had a relation like the 4th year of another Rav when there was 4 years.
Right, and he made sure the last time he was with his wife was 9 months before the Shnas Rav.
Before the Rav start.
Before the Rav start.
So even the later should be before the Rav.
Even the later should be before. Okay. So very nice. So what the Rebbe's father accomplished is that the Zohar wasn't repetitive to say the same din 3 times. It's 3 separate dinim. Yeah. And the Diyuk Lashanis all go very well. Problem is that the Rebbe's shaila is Moshe Kapoyer. Moshe Kapoyer. If you read the Shulchan Aruch, which we just read, so a person is also to be with his wife, what's the exception? So for pleasure, not. Exception, he doesn't have any children. You know what? Maybe he has children, doesn't have a ben ubas. Or that's the exception. That's the exception. And the Zohar is Moshe Kapoyer. Everything is the other way around. The Zohar says for pleasure. Okay, if you're tzaddik like Yosef. But to have children, no way, because it's the klipa is shoylet in the world, so you don't want to have that the woman should conceive and the husband should give out a tip in the time of klippa. It's like mamash Moshe Kapoyer from the Shulchan Aruch.
Isn't it? It's not unusual that the halacha and the Kabbalah go with different agendas. If that's in different derachim.
Shell is why. Why? And why does it end up being Moshe Kapoyer? Not only different, but the opposite. So the Rebbe has a simple beer, beautiful, based on what we learned yesterday. Api beer Amud, moving Shlodas Azoyer, Yisrael Sham Shmetas B'Shnas Arov, Kadesh Saber Chomer Yoisam Yisrael Sham Shmetas Shloil Saber. Shalakena Yisrael Shloil Sham Shmetas Saber Huchiv Akol Adam Yisrael. Mashenka Nogesh Sham Shmetas Shloil Saber. Had is Neshiyosef Tzadik. Hine hu solok v'sosam abush l'shem shafil shloil l'saber. Valachtam kam his hiru shloil yvoldo b'shna sarah. Amno api alocha had is a boyfriend hafach. Shikar yisur hu l'shem shmetas shloil l'saber. Mashenken kashe ychoil l'saber. Isa b'gemara salad l'shem shmetas b'shna shnei raven shnei le'osu yul shnei bonim eterem shnei rav tana chasuch bonim chasei bonim shleikaim pili v'diba, which was Rashi's diuk, which we just learned. The place called Medayik from Rashi, that even if he has already a child of two children, but he doesn't have a ben or bas, is Meshamshem at the same Mishnei Rav, Achenu b'Shulchan Aruch, Os L'Shem Mitase b'Shnei Rav, Noch Tzorchem Banim. Seder Mazu is Zora, Chutz Melel Tvila, Shaz Mutar Hakal, Lo Yirak Chatzorchem Banim. Kalatake, the Magen Avraham argues, but not everyone, but L'Pol Shulchan Aruch holds that it's Mutar Belel Tvila. But the bottom one is mizem muchach sheisur rak betash mishein l'tzarech elod. Hasuchi bonim mishamshim the same because it's v'chein kol adam alel tvila mikiven she'oz yeshav shorish et esabek and yeshav misaberes l'sochel tvilos. The Rebbe is a little bit turning the Magen Avraham on its head, but one second, I just want to explain this, that he because the Magen Avraham said that he thinks it's only also for a person, it's only mutter Belil Tvila for someone that doesn't have any children. Why? Because that's the most likely that she'll have a baby. The Rebbe says you could use the logic of the Magen Avraham, but for the Shulchan Aruch side, say everyone is mutter Belil Tvila. Why is everyone mutter Belil Tvila? Because the Gemara says the highest chances to have a baby is Belil Tvila. Like we spoke about it last night, that today we know it scientifically because we know that the cycle takes the woman, so it takes La'erech, b'memutza 2 weeks until the ovaries give out the 1 or 2 bayim, and b'memutza by a woman that would be leil tvila. That would be leil tvila, and that's why there was a mold. There was a doctor that wrote a book, a goy, many years ago, and he said that this was before it was common to use things to be meineya ibur. That he realized that Jewish families are having more children. He also realized that in his practice that the Jewish families, the religious couples, had more tilt to having boys. It's a very interesting book. He has a whole more tendency to have boys. The whole thing. And then he asked this to patients, and they told him what it says. Ishmazeh Tchila. So he came up with a whole. It's a whole book. It's a whole book. He came up with a whole mahalach, a pshat in the Gemara. He came up with a pshat in the Gemara. A very interesting pshat. I think it's very ungrammar because it's pshat. It goes in the words of Rashi. He says the pshat is.
So he's one of the later achronim.
The Rambam says Kabbalas Emes Mishamrei.
So we say Yeshach Malagayim.
No, he's doing it.
He asked. He's the guy. He asked the Jewish patients. It's a funny thing. You can buy the book. It's called Dr. Shettel's book. So he said that the pshat is that the zera of a person that has the zochor travels fast but dies quickly, and a cave has patience, goes slowly but lives longer, just like Schorim and a cavis in this world. Mm-hmm. So if the tipa of the woman is already delivered, and befrat, if the ish, his zera came in a minute before Lamazogan, the zoch is faster. So it swims faster, and then more chances it'll hit off, and it'll be a boy. Mashain came if he was with her 3 days before, 3 days after. So So the Chelek Hazer, that's the Zochor, is allein gestorben. Who's around? Who lives longer than a keva? So then it'll be in a keva. That's why Ish Mazriat Chila is it'll be Zocher. Ish Mazaz Chila. Ish Mazraz Chila. Yeah. Ish Mazaz Chila. No, I'm sorry. The Pshat is the same.
Always the opposite.
Ish Mazraz Chila. Yeah, it's always that. Ish Mazraz Chila. Ila the Zocher. Sorry, I said it wrong, but yeah, the Alter Rebbe said Ish Mazraz Tchila, and right afterwards, but Ish Mazriya Tchila 3 days later. So the Zach is dead, but then a keva. So that's but what happens if it's not 3 days? I'm being magzim, but maybe it's even less than 3 days. The reason I'm saying 3 days because Chazal say b'memutza that is there it dies.
It's made a couple hours.
But Api Chazal that it could live up to 3 days. That's the Gemara we once learned to right. That's what I'm saying. 3 days. Okay, it's Kenza. But what happens after that? There's the likelihood that there should be a lady is very low, but it could still be a lady because you don't know when the ovaries are delivering the veya. Could be that first of all, every woman is different. It could be the ovaries, it's like schlafen for an extra week this time. I mean, in fact, today they could manipulate things anyway. So the strongest likelihood, al derech hamamutza, is that a woman will become pregnant b'leil tefillah. That's why there's the big chashivus of being together with his wife, dafka b'leil tefillah.
Very good.
But the other nights are less likely, but still shaykh. So what the Rebbe is saying is just learn the pshat of the Magen Avraham, but a little differently, according to the Shulchan Aruch. That the people that have no children, it's a mitzvah for them to try every night, because you never know. Who knows? Maybe even though a week after the Leil Tefillah, you don't know what's going on. But the people that already have children, before it's just a mitzvah to have more children. So B'leil Tefillah, which is a very strong likelihood, everyone should do it. Upon him, what we see from here is that according to Shulchan Aruch, it's the other way around. If you're more likely to have a baby, go for it. Or for pleasure, don't do it. B'shenkin, according to Zohar, it's the other way around. If it's in order to have a baby, don't do it because it's now a time of klippa, and you don't want chas v'shalom that the baby should have in it a ruach mesava. But if it's done for pleasure and you know it's not going to be a baby, there's gefährlich. If you want to be like Yosef Atzadik, be mahader. Otherwise, it doesn't matter.
I always understood that the Yisr of having Achmas and Neroides, that you should feel sorry, even if you're not Ashir, you should feel
Right.
sorry.
Right.
But here we're saying that the night of the tefillah, even if they got a dozen children, it's mutter, and so on.
Right.
So
Not goes that way.
So I was thinking, I'm assuming, and I would ask the Rav to confirm that because of the mitzvah of Ona, that overrides the feeling of sar.
I wouldn't say it's a mitzvah. I would say it's a mitzvah pe'evriba. Because I mean the mitzvah.
They could have a dozen children already. They're both older. The woman may be 60 years old. They're not having more children.
Right.
But he still has to.
So it's a good question.
No,
I don't know.
The mitzvah of Ona overrides the heritage of Sar. That's
because the mitzvah of Oina is not only B'leil Tefillah. The mitzvah of Oina is.
But at least by Leil Tefillah for other that's my assumption. But
no, that's not the way the Rebbe is understanding.
No,
the Rebbe is understanding it not that way. And Aktaka, the way the Rebbe is understanding it.
Of Sar.
Right, and the way the Rebbe is learning it.
The issue of
and theoretically, if Taka they knew 100% that she can't be misaber, like Lamashal Mazag, she was on a medication that makes that's impossible. First, even there you could argue.
And after menopause,
everything. Oh, well. So then
the Rebbe is not dealing with.
He's not saying so much. I love
it. Talking about Sar, he's not talking about.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Not just raising it.
Right. So then Afkamina if your pshat was right, so even if the woman is 80 years old. B'leil Tefillah is the Chelel Tefillah. Again, it's a funny nafkamina because if the woman is 80 years old, she's not going to the mikveh.
Yeah.
So, okay, so there's not such a big nafkamina.
So that if she is no longer
Possible for
going,
postmenopause. a little bit.
Yeah, it's possible, yeah.
so if she's no
So in
longer,
that time, when it happens, because it could happen, and it happens.
according to that, if she's no longer going to the mikveh based on age, then she, during the Shas Royev, she doesn't have these aterim
Right,
of,
right,
okay?
right,
And then it's just pleasure.
right. But we're back to, okay, yeah.
I would say simple. If she has 10 children, it's not a law. You have to feed them. You don't think about another child.
בטעם הדובר יש להם, על דרך ההלכה, טעם האיסור מפני הצער שבשני הרובן. בזמן זה צריך ללמוד בצער בעצמי. כמו במסודס הגמור, שלפני המים עושה לאודם לשמש מטוסם, מדובר עדס השכר לכל המרי ועצמי בשני רובן. So what are we talking about? בשכר שמצער עצמי כשישראל בצער. ואחר זה, בזמן שישראל שמצער, פירש איך מהם. So from the way the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah and the Beis Yosef understood from the Gemara that it has to do with being mitzar with the tzibur. Aval al derech hasoy tami yisur iglem nesh yisrael shir mitzar. Is it pretty clear in the Zohar? Kim nesh bezman az hasholut ba'olam sitter the masava. Ba'at shem amelim nikram yimei ra. It's a different thing. L'chein kasher tami yisur elam ne'atzar yisur zeh hu rak b'tashmer she'en etzarech elod. Shoz yesh lo'y le'tzar atzma. Schenken mit Hashmish, Letzerech Elod, Leil Tfila. Malach Tam Kamer Lachasukimon. Are Poshut Shamitz with the Prudavu, Doiches, Atzorech, Letzer, Ezatzm. That's Al Pi Haloch. Ava Kasher Tam Yisrum Nei, Ashlita de Sitter de Mesava. Are Ader Abbe. Tashmish Letzerech, Heloda, Chomor Yoisem, mit Tashmish Ein Letzerech Eloda. כי הבלת שיבולד מהתשמיש בשני רובן הוא בן זור, שזור הוא היפך הקודש, משן כי מתשמיש אין לצורך חילודת כשמברס, הנה אף שגם שימוש זה מויל הבלת שיזוריז ומלובן, בשנס הרוב נמשך זה מסיטה דמסובה, מכיוון שמציוסה של הבלת עם הטיפה של לפני הרוב, שוב הנה בן זור, גם כאשר מקבל מסיטה דמסובה. אמנם הנגוסה של יוסף צדיקאי היא שלא לשם שפילה שלא יליסאפי, כדי שלא ימשוך. Meuma, mesimtra the Mesava. They're saying if we understand that the answer is that what's the reason of the halacha? If the reason is to be nitztayer, so stam to be mishamish with his wife is not good because he's not being mitzar with the tzibur. But if he needs to have children, or even if he's a regular person, but it's leil tefillah, it's very likely he'll have a child, and it's a big mitzvah, so that takes away the mitzvah to be mitzvah on
He doesn't put it in terms of bona like I was thinking. He puts it in terms of
mitzvah pirividiv.
Mitzvah
That's what
pirividiv.
it's telling me, exactly. But the other hand, in the Zohar, the main thing to the Zohar has nothing to do with being mitzvah and tzibur. According to the Zohar, it has to do with one thing alone, which is that in the time of Arol, there's a ruach mitzvah in the world. So it's not a good time to produce a child in that time. So, but to be with his wife, okay, listen, let it be with his wife. Elamai Yosef HaTzadik had a special thing, an extra thing, so he didn't do it because it's tzaddik.
This line on Sukkot, he said, I'm start put on a Sukkot. Chabad says, what do you mean with start? You have more tzar if you do sleep in Sukkot.
Right. So
That's exactly what's over here.
Yeah.
Rabbi, for shidduchim, you're allowed to say ish zav.
No,
If you know that the baby was born in Shnat La'av, and then shidduchim, are you allowed to say or not to say?
no, probably not, because the Shulchan Aruch doesn't say such a thing. It's only something in the Zohar. If it was brought in Shulchan Aruch, the Shulchan Aruch doesn't bring it.
At all.
No, the Shulchan Aruch doesn't bring it. Even the other things we do bring from the Zohar. L'poel here, the Gemara doesn't. Shulchan Aruch understands from the Hemshech Gemara that the Gemara is different than the Zohar, and we have a klal that when there's a malacha and that in the Gemara that's clear one way in the Zohar, the other way we pass like the Gemara.
I know only why one of the Torah said Rosh Hashanah she was Neit Avrah.
Yeah.
When it says
Otherwise you don't say.
Right.
No other tzaddikim the Torah said.
Right, when boom. על דרך זה בנגיע לזירס מלוד בשנס הרוב, לשמש מטוס הזמן רב לפני שנס הרוב, כדי שלא יבוא בשנס הרוב, שזה גם היה יוסף גדולה. אבל בשבלדו מטיפה שקודם שנס הרוב, וגם הזירס והליבון, מהשמש של האחר שכבר נסע ונס קודם שנס הרוב, מקום מוקים, אם לא עושים טיפה שנס הרוב, Hare nöl de beduchte de Masava al kol ponim. Parshas Yishlema kishanog ba'elam lahek kishuv shalolim rav enz masam enz mamasam leilodus bonim yishuv ba'elam poil amnam poshet shinezeh v'yishayich etzel Yosef ba'olad ki Yosef yoda bebirur emes etiyah shnasarav mashen kishalo yodim ba'ofen borur shalvavad ein limon afil matzad midas chasidus mikir mitzvah soina valach kama v'kama mitzvahs pruruvu.
Oh, so then he brings Ona.
Yeah, does bring it on. But alach kama
And
kama.
Ona is broader because when
Right.
you just prove that's like we say
Right,
one
not for
boy,
every-
one girl, or
Right.
2 children, but Ona is even if you have 20 children.
Exactly.
Different.
Because here he's talking about
Before.
before, so that everyone wants to emphasize, because in this man of the Rav, it's taka, even the Shulchan Aruch that's mekel, it's mashma that it's only mekel mitzad mitzvah period riba. Because as I was saying before, it's very hard to imagine that leil tefillah has to do with oina. What does leil tefillah have to do with oina? The only
Because
thing that's
she
special about leil tefillah,
Psychologically, she went to the mikveh that night. She's all excited, and that night, at least we're mako, and we let them be together.
I hear
That's what I would think.
It's a good svara. We don't
That's what I would
find.
think, but
We don't find everything. We find the Gemara, the Mashal says, that if her husband is Yoitzel Derech, she's Mesava, and therefore it's a special mitzvah the night before to be with her. Okay. So you have a eye, it's a Gemara. You have a Gemara in Nidud that says that Belel Tvila, she's most likely to have a baby. But this thing, okay, we don't have it. Anyway, so so the Rebbe is saying that in the 9 months before, even Iluya Tzuyer, so Yosef, first of all, he was a tzaddik. Second of all, he knew bebirur. Shanking for other person is number one, he has a mitzvah klapi his wife, mitzvah soina, and number 2, he has a mitzvah on himself, mitzvah piri v'riba, so chas v'shalom, that he should be holding back from being with his wife.
So even the other one, the born in the Shnat Arov, maybe the time it was before.
Yes, he's saying nish gefährlich. So he's saying, first of all, it's only Yosef, and second of all, 2 things. Yosef was mahader, and also because Yosef knew. Exactly, but for a regular person, not. So, Kaponim, the Rebbe says that he doesn't bring it over here in the Sikh. The Rebbe said that we see over here is brought in a lot of places that Atzilus and Asiyah have a special shaykhis, and that Soda Torah and Pshat has a special shaykhis. So the Rebbe said that we see that Dafke Rashi. Yesterday we said that Rashi also Smasha Fanashi that is not because you have to be mitzvah with the rest of the world. That's what Rashi says. It's only Bishnei Ra'oven. After 2 years went by, and you know that there's an issue. It's not stam, a fluke. So we see that Api Zoyer is the same thing the way it's in Rashi, Pshuta Shamikra. Api Alocha, the Geder of not being Mishamish Bishnei Ra'oven is because to be mitzvah with the Tzibur. But Api Kabbalah and Api Pshat, it's Pashat because it's a time in the world that the Eibishter is busy with the opposite of Yeshuva Shalom. Why Kabbalah gives an extra thing that Pshat. The Kabbalah adds that there's a Ruach Mesava, and you don't want Chas v'Shalom that the babies should have in themselves a Ruach Mesava. But the Kumtus Api Pshat and Api Kabbalah, it's the same thing.
does the Kabbalah go the other way? That when it's you may Simcha, the whole Sukkot or the whole Pesach, or that's a more Mesugal time?
There's a story in the Zohar. No. That the Veis Vachel Meisech will that sound? Huh? That there's a story in the Zohar. And I think the Rebbe brought it a few times to people that asked about fertility issues. That there was a woman and a husband that came to Reb Shimon Vayechi, and they said that they were married for 10 years and didn't have any children. So
With the party.
Yeah.
That
does a-
party.
yeah. So
What do you want? Ask
Yeah.
what do you want?
I'll tell the story.
The details.
Yeah. I'm not putting you on the spot.
So,
Okay. So they came to Shimon Vayechi. Shimon Vayechi said, "Tak." The din is that they have to get divorced. But if Shimon Vayechi,
They don't. They have to, or they may. Maybe there's much more for us.
And no, they have to. So Rav Shimon Bar Yochai said that just like you got married with a big simcha, so now that they're going to get divorced,
I remember that.
oh, so they should do it with a big simcha. So they should make a big mishnah and a big simcha because they're doing the Eibishter's mitzvah. So they made a big simcha, and a person got drunk at the mishnah, and he told his wife, "Look, he has no choice. This is what they're going to do, but whatever she wants, she should pick the most precious thing in from his assets, and she should take it for herself."
The one who's divorcing as well.
Yeah, so he told his wife she should take the most precious of his assets, and she should take it for himself. So she said, "Okay." She said, "Okay, fine, thank you very much." And till he was so drunk that he fell asleep. And she told her servants that they should bring him back to her house.
To her bed.
Yeah. So then he opened his eyes. And he was, "What's going on?" So she said, "Listen, you told me I was given." So they were together that night, and she became Uberes. So we see that because with so much amuna and so much simcha and so much that they broke through the gzeira. There was Rav Shimon Bar Yochai must have seen that there was a gzeira against them, and he wanted to break the gzeira through making this big mishta and this big trick. So the opposite, there was a simcha and there was a mishta, and the woman tricked him. And what really happened over here in pshat of the story, in the pshat of the story in the Zohar, is that there was a lot of simcha, a lot of love. In other words, that she really loved her husband, and she showed her unbelievable loyalty to him. And min hashamayim, they were marachim in the schus of what? Of the simcha and the schus of the ava. So you see the opposite from here. You see the Zohar, it goes in a certain way. That
Presents that the guy got in this story, it makes the guy look bad that he got drunk.
All's good that ends good. All's
Yeah.
but you know, so it does. Right?
Years ago, a guy called me, and I know him. He said, "Tell me Mazel Tov." I said, "What happened?" He said, "I got my get today."
A year later,
He was suffering.
a year later, they're all depressed. They always tell you Mazel Tov.
Exactly.
A year later, they're all depressed.
What does it?
One by one.
What does it?
When the Rebbe became Rebbe, the first year, there was a couple in Borough that married, and over 10 years, and they're allowed to divorce. They should get divorced, and they got divorced. The problem is, 2 months after they got divorced, she was pregnant. That means just before they got divorced,
Take her back.
so Marcel Gusha, so what could be better than that?
Yeah.
Married again and finish.
Yeah.
But the problem was a coin.
Cannot marry that because she's
She's not allowed to marry the coin.
Yes.
So they went to the Rabbanim. Rabbanim said that maybe the k'tuba wasn't a good k'tuba. The k'tuba was 100%. Maybe the get wasn't the get wasn't. Everything was kosher 100%, and he's a coin. Can't do nothing about it. Maybe it's I thought that it was a mistake. If you don't know, we wouldn't know. But once you sign the paper, you can go backward. No Rabbanim could tell him what to do. So somebody says, go to the Baal Shem. So he went to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe told him, the Rebbe told him, what's the problem? Go ask your mother.
And he's not going.
So he went outside and said, Hasidim, you're gonna make me crazy to go to the Rebbe. And who is the one that knows the story more than anybody else? My mother. So what the Rebbe told me, go ask my mother. So the Rebbe told you have to listen. Hasidim is like that. They went to his mother and said, the Babchi Rebbe told me to ask him. You see his mother getting, different colors. And he said, what? So he said, me and my husband, your father and me adopt you in the war in Auschwitz. We took you because somebody dropped you, and we decided to raise you, but you should not ever know that you're not our child. So this way you forget about the Holocaust. You know that you have a father and a mother in our head. But now I see that the Baal Shem Rebbe in Ruach HaKodesh know that you're not actually our son, so you're not a Kohen, and you're allowed to marry again.